All right. Well, for those of you who had just joined, once again, thanks for joining the Bosch Communications webinar seminars. This is the Dynacord Install Amplifier Solutions session. What do you say, Rob? Let's go ahead and get into it.
Let's do it.
Okay. So some considerations, things that we will be doing here. We will record this session so that we will be able to post this at a later date. Important to know. Questions are going to be answered at the end of the presentation. We'll actually have a break in the middle, but if you could use your chat function so that you can write the questions off to the side, and we will get to those all at the end. Today, Rob Ferguson is going to take us through the Dynacord portfolio. Rob's been with the company for quite a while, started out in inside sales and has done a really nice job with the marketing side of our business. So he's handling the EV and Dynacord portfolio for installed audio. So welcome, Robert. I appreciate you joining us and taking us through this product portfolio.
Thanks a lot, Sean, and thanks for the kind words. Welcome, everyone. Happy to join you here today. We'll kind of dive into right into some of our Dynacord portfolio here. For those of you guys who are familiar with the Bosch family of brands, Dynacord is one of those brands, and that's specifically our premium electronics brand. So today we'll be going through more of our installed amplifier solutions. So we'll focus mostly on some hardware elements. Of course, we'll touch a little bit on software. We do have some future webinars coming up, specifically focused more on the software components, but we'll highlight a couple product families today. We'll do C and L series amplifiers, and we'll include some system examples with that. We'll also go over our IPX series amplifiers, as well as some system examples, just the same. And then here to wrap it up at the end, we'll touch on our SonicU sound system software, which we are doing a separate webinar next week on. And then we'll touch base on a third-party plugin that we've seen a lot of use of so far in several projects. So I'll dive right into the portfolio here and just kind of a brief snapshot of what the Dynacord electronics portfolio looks like today. Up here at the top, we have our C and L series amplifiers, which I'll dive into here momentarily. They are all 2-channel amplifiers. They have professional DSP, including FIR drive, and of course offer some intuitive software as well. For those of you who are familiar with the Electro Voice electronics, this is really the same realm or price point as what the predecessors were at, the CPS 2-channel amplifiers or the Q-Series amplifiers, of course packed with some new features, including DSP. The step above that we'll talk about shortly after for the second half of the session will be IPX. It's more of our multi-channel option, so that includes 4 and 8-channel models. They are Dante networked, they're incredibly energy efficient, and of course offer some advanced reliability with these amplifiers at their price point, and of course superior audio quality. TGX amplifiers, we won't necessarily dive into those today. Those are more of our live sound or touring amplifiers. Under the hood, they're quite similar to IPX. They're pretty much in kind of the same range there and price point. However, for more mobile applications, or we actually even offer a turnkey system rack with power distro and switches already built in. So if you are in an installation where you need a bit more of a mobile setup, let's say it's a multi-purpose room or a ballroom of some kind where we want to roll in a rack, or it's a portable system at least for just that event, that is an option that's available. Again, kind of at the same exact feature set as IPX, but just more in a live format there. So that's TGX. And then there at the bottom, we do have some software listed here. So for easy control, configuration, and operation, we have our Mark software, which is available for C and L series only, kind of more of our basic software platform. And then SonicU is also available. Again, I kind of touched on this. We'll do a separate session on SonicU, but SonicU can be used for all of these Dynacord electronics all in one project file. So, but we'll touch on that just a little bit. But let's dive right into the LNC Series amplifiers. Again, kind of like IPX and TGX, under the hood, they're really the same animals. However, L Series is more dedicated for live applications, and C Series is more for install. So I think L for live, C for contractor. That's kind of the way that I think of them. However, they are quite similarly looking, but there's just a couple key differences between the two. So, however, they do have all of these key features that we'll kind of go through today. They all have full integrated DSP. They have an exceptional user interface and some choices here with LNC series. They offer high power and some rock solid reliability. They're a great system value at the price point they're at. And of course, there is some flexibility on applications. So I can use these amplifiers for both performance low impedance applications and then maybe some more 70 volt or 100 volt applications where I'm doing some distributed audio throughout a facility. So I have some flexibility as well. So many amplifiers in the market have no DSP, or they have some rudimentary 3 to 4 band EQs, maybe some basic crossovers, and some even have a display screen. But in the end, it's quite limited as far as a DSP feature set. So the Dynacord LNC amplifiers do have professional 6-band parametric EQ out of the box with crossovers and delay. And then actually with the new firmware 2.0 that's available for LNC series today, there's an even more enhanced DSP set, which includes 10-band PEQs for user and 5 for array. So with that firmware update, you're actually able to use the amplifiers within our SonicU platform as well. So some of the competition has some IIR filters and speaker presets included. Dynacord offers a truly unique professional experience to the user with FIR drives. So FIR presets are totally unheard of at this price point. And actually within SonicU, if you do the firmware update, which obviously I encourage you to if you want to use SonicU, but we do have presets for FIR drive presets specifically for EVIDs all the way up to some of our line array elements as well. So, and of course, you could always load in some third-party loudspeaker presets. So, like I mentioned, there is an intuitive user interface that you can use. I mean, certainly you could use the front panel there for some basic editing, but there is a specific GUI or 2 GUIs that you can really use. So most competitors at this price range don't offer any kind of GUI. And if they do offer a GUI, it's limited to single devices, which means you have to log into each and every amplifier one by one in a system to make a change. So with the LNC series amplifiers, they come standard with Mark software right out of the box. So, and you can enable up to 8 amplifiers or 16 channels through a USB hub with just one PC GUI. Or if you do decide to upgrade the firmware to 2.0, it can be used in SonicU, and you can have well over 8 amplifiers. You could have up to 100 plus devices within the same software suite. So, and if you wanted to mix and match maybe some IPX electronics, maybe some TGX electronics, you're able to do that within SonicU. So, and then, of course, did mention some system presets. Offline editing is available with both Mark and SonicU, so I don't have to have the amplifiers right in front of me. I can start working on a project or start programming ahead of time with offline editing. And of course, we offer the most extensive system control here. And of course, with that, these amplifiers do offer high power and solid reliability, especially at their price point. You know, we're looking at up to 1,800 watts per channel, and then, you know, we can actually get 3,600 watts if we decided to bridge that amplifier. But they're all 2-channel amplifiers, and it's 2 by 650, all the way up to 2 by 1,800, ratings at 4 ohms. So, I mean, we can use this for something that's basic commercial audio, using something like Electro Voice EVIDs, or all the way up to something like the Electro Voice EVA line array system. So, another thing that I think is worth mentioning too with these amplifiers, especially considering their price point, most amplifiers in the market, they might publish a 2 ohm rating. However, a lot of those amplifiers are really not designed to run on a load that low. These amplifiers, it is possible to operate at a 2 ohm load, so you don't have to worry about it or be concerned about that the load is too low. You'll find that most amplifiers, you really don't want to run below 4 ohms. You don't have to worry about that with LNC. And of course, with our long history here at Electro Voice and Dynacord, there's all sorts of torque rate limiting and protection built into even these lower price point amplifiers. And like I mentioned, we do have some flexibility. We can actually really double the suitable applications. So all these amplifiers are built with direct drive, so I can use it on a 70 or 100 volt line. no problem. So there's not any dedicated models to that, so you have some flexibility when choosing between the two, choosing between the amplifiers here. So if you find yourself in an application where maybe I want to drive some distributed audio speakers, or maybe I have an extra channel here or there, you can actually still use the C-Series amplifiers for that. The only thing that I will keep in mind, or that I would keep in mind, is just make sure you check the spec sheet for what amplifier you're going to use. You know, the C1300, C1800, C2800 are absolutely suitable for 70 volt. You know, for the C1300 specifically, you do have to have it bridged. So just be careful of that. And then for 100 volt applications, kind of the same. But there's a quick little table right here, right in front of you, that you're able to look at. This is obviously documented on our data sheets and manuals. So if you do find yourself in a 70 or 100 volt application and you want to double check, feel free to do that. And like I mentioned, under the hood, these are really the same beasts. However, C-Series comes with a couple additional features here. So remote power on function via GPI, a super efficient power standby mode, and you're able to recall presets via GPIO to change the venue configuration. So maybe it's a venue setting where during the day we're playing light background music, and at night we're doing a full live performance. So that's as simple as a GPIO switching between the two presets. So that's also available with the C-Series amplifiers. And of course, these come at a great price point. Now, this is MSRP in US dollars here in the US, so really affordable. Again, this is full MSRP packed with all of the system benefits that I just went over, including FIR drive, which is unheard of at this price point. So just wanted to make sure that you guys had an idea of what these amplifiers cost. Now I'll dive into a couple system examples. The first one here, we'll kind of look at a mid-size house of worship. Specifically for this project, we looked at kind of the Electro Voice EVA line array system for fixed install. It has some great internal rigging, right? So we got a nice column of white here in this application for all the loudspeakers here. Now, these boxes specifically run at 16 ohms, or they're rated at 16 ohms, so I can actually get quite a few of these on the same amp channel. And there are some attenuation modules for shading if we needed to do that on the lower modules. So for this application, I mean, we're driving the entire, all of the tops here with just one amplifier, with one C3600 here. So it's pretty impressive. And then, of course, we've added some additional amplifiers for some low end using some EVA 2151D subs. So that's one example. Another example could be a performing arts center or a multi-purpose space, right? So here we selected some Electro Voice EVF loudspeakers. We kind of use those as the mains and in clusters here in this application, of course paired with some EVF 2151D subwoofers. And there are some array kits so that you can actually easily put these guys in clusters. We've also got some EVUs in place here for some front fills, and as well as some delays in some of the other areas. So all C-Series amplifiers here. So these, since we do have the presets available, the FIR presets available already, we're able to run all of these guys right out of the gate since we have the Electro Voice settings already. Here's another system example here. Maybe it's a small club or something like that. We use some Electro Voice EKX passive speakers here, as well as some EKX subs, and we're just using 2 amps for this, two channel amplifiers. Nothing too complicated here. But we're able to create a small, nice little system here that has enough punch for a smaller club like this. And then the last example I have here is maybe for a piano bar or small bar or club. We're driving some Electro Voice EVIDs here on a 70 or 100 volt line. And then, of course, we have it accompanied here with some ZX1 12-inch subwoofers. So just one amplifier to drive everything here. So we've got 10 EVIDs here and then 3 subs. With just one amplifier. So that's kind of the overview of C&L series here that I took you guys through here. So I'll pass it back over to Sean for our question halfway through here.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. So I think maybe at this point we'll just stop and ask you guys a basic question. Where do you primarily use DSP amplifiers? So if you guys can use maybe the chat window or your chat function within Skype, and then just write in your answers. Awesome. Appreciate that, guys. Coming in fast and furious. And also don't hesitate to use that same window for any questions that you might have, because we will be answering those at the end of the session. Yeah, it looks like certainly a lot of all of the above, which is great. Good stuff. I appreciate the info coming back. Okay, Rob, back to you.
Cool. Thanks for participating in our poll, guys, and I'll keep the train going here. So now we're going to move up to the next step. So we talked about our two-channel amplifiers, LNC series, right? Some great bang for your buck amplifiers, definitely great for several applications. And we'll dive into our IPX multi-channel amplifiers, which is the creme de la creme of the Dynacord amplifier line, specifically for install applications. So they can fit in the same exact applications we just talked about with LNC. However, for some large-scale opportunities or long distributed lines of audio, you might want to consider an amplifier like IPX. So that could be a stadium, could be a nightclub, could be performing arts, maybe house of worship, a convention center. There's quite a few options here, certainly depending on what you guys are working on out there in the field. You'll find that IPX was probably a great fit for several applications that you might be working on. So the series consists of 4 models, 3 4-channel amplifiers ranging from 1250 watts a channel all the way up to 5,000 per channel. And again, that's at 4 ohms here, rated here. And then there is also an 8-channel amplifier at 1250 watts a channel. So all of these amplifiers are all networked amplifiers, and they don't need any additional cards. It's already built right in. So Omnio is already on board. So that's combined audio transport there with Dante, and then open control architecture control here with AES 70. So we've combined those. That's really what Omnio is here, is Dante and AES 70. So some key features that I'd like you guys to take home with you after this webinar is IPX amplifiers offer superior sound, definitely highest in the market, most powerful in the market as well. There's some installation flexibility, which I'll touch on here in a minute. They're incredibly efficient, even though they offer quite a punch here for power. They don't consume as much power as you would think. And then, of course, some advanced reliability, because not only do we want the best audio, but we want to keep the show going as well. So, like I mentioned, superior sound here. So we're up to 115 dB signal to noise ratio, which is great. That's A-weighted. There's some premium audio to digital and back digital to audio, digital analog audio converters here, a 40-bit floating point shark, some top-notch digital signal processing, and then the industry's lowest latency. So we're looking at 0.53 milliseconds at full 96K, and that's analog in to analog out, and then 0.7 milliseconds at 48K. Like I mentioned, they are the most powerful in the market, and I think we're a little conservative on our ratings too compared to most manufacturers out there. And these are all rated at up to 5,000 watts per channel, and that's all channels driven. That's not just one channel driven, which you'll see a lot of manufacturers publish or stick to. So, and they are incredibly stable as well without shutdown. So I'll touch on this a little later with our cycle by cycle current limiter, but we're even able to drive loads below 2 ohms, which is kind of unheard of. We have some installation flexibility as well, so we can run these in parallel bridge and parallel bridge modes. And these amplifiers feature variable load drive, or what we call VLD. So we're able to mix and match different loads onto the line or onto the amplifier. So one channel could be the main system. The second channel could be some distributed audio. So I can mix and match some low impedance and high impedance lines with the amplifier, and there's no concern that the amplifier is going to be harmed or damaged, or the loudspeaker system will be damaged over time. They are designed to operate that way. And of course, since I did mention there is some installation flexibility, here over on the right, we're kind of showcasing the IPX 10.8 along with some wiring. The IPX 10.8 is rated at 1250 watts a channel, right at 4 ohm, 8 ohm, and then of course for direct drive for 70 and 100 volt lines. But if I did need a little bit more somewhere in the system, I do have some flexibility by doing something like parallel bridging the amplifier, and I can get some more output. So the first technology that I wanted to touch on with you guys here is what's called EcoRail, and it's a patented technology that we have packed in here along with some other patents with the IPX series. But EcoRail dramatically lowers idle power consumption while providing full system supervision and full output power without any delay. So for those light duty applications like background music, or maybe I'm just driving a pilot tone, or we're in idle mode, the internal rails will be reduced. So the idle power consumption will be reduced by more than 50%, while the amp stays fully active and fully functional. So when it's fully needed, full output power is available without any delay. So it significantly cuts down on the power consumption, right? We don't have a 20 kilowatt amplifier running all day 24/7 at full power consumption. So this is some flexibility here. The approach for this really derived from Class H switching, but in the IPX and TGX range, a unique approach allows rail switching in Class D amplifiers without any compromise. So that means full output is instantly available, so we're not missing any of the first syllables when someone goes to use the system. No audible distortion or click noise transition from EcoRail to the normal rail and back again. So the process is fully transparent. So the user doesn't have to take care of this setting or configure it. And then, of course, unlike many of our competitors, there's no mains inrush that happens when you transition from EcoRail to the normal rail. So some competitors that do offer something similar, it shows a huge inrush of current during the event. So to give you guys kind of an example of what we're talking about, obviously, the goal here is that we're consuming less power, we're being more power efficient, we're trying to be more green. Everyone cares about that. We care about that. And we know you guys care about it, and certainly the end users out there with the amplifiers do care about how much power they're consuming. So they do have a low cost of ownership. So in this example, let's just use 64 pieces of IPX 10.8, which is a significant install. It's a lot of amplifier channels. But you can kind of see here what type of cost savings we're talking about, almost 10 grand within the first year. So even for smaller applications, you can see that this starts to add up, especially when you compare this to other amplifiers in the market, either at lower price points than this or within the same realm. So you can really see where you start to save the end user some money here, and of course we're using less energy. Another example we did want to touch on is we recently did an install not too long ago, the Berlin Olympic Stadium. Pretty impressive installation, loaded with IPX. And we found that it was 75% less power consumption than the predecessor amplifiers that were installed there previously. Now, they're older amplifiers, but 75% is really significant. So you can see the investment into IPX was well worth it for them. They were going to do it anyways, but now they're getting a little bit more out of it by saving more money on their amplifier bill there. So, and again, this is fully automatic. So this happens automatically. The amplifiers are designed to switch between these two rails. There's no configuration necessary. You'll just know at the end of the day that that amplifier is consuming less energy. So moving on to kind of the reliability of the IPX amplifiers, because of course we're offering the best quality audio here, right? But we also want to make sure that we're keeping the show going and that the best audio is still going to come out of those amplifiers. So as an industry leader, we have a couple key technologies in here, including JTM or junction temperature modeling, intelligent mains voltage supervision, and smart PFC or power factor correction. So about 280 parameters are supervised within these amplifiers, and we've got several patents. I think we have about 6 locked in right now. But I'll first start with JTM or junction temperature modeling. Obviously, we like to abbreviate things a lot here, so we call this JTM. But you'll see here in the image is kind of an example of the differences between IPX and some conventional amplifiers in the market. You'll see that this showcases, this little dotted line is the border of the safe operating area for the internal components here. We'll see the safety margin that we offer here in IPX, and then in blue, this lighter blue is where JTM kind of operates, and then this red square is really where you see convention safe operating area protection. So you can see there's a big difference in how they're able to utilize the full potential of the amplifier. So to kind of explain that further, most conventional protection techniques used to protect components where the maximum current is usually limited to a low and non-critical value In addition, the temperature at the heat sink of the power components is measured in a simple way, and when the critical temperature range is reached, the load is switched off or the output voltage is reduced. In general, these protections are sufficient and avoid overloading the electronics. However, a very high safety margin must also be taken into account, which you can see with this red square versus JTM here. So the maximum possible performance of the semiconductor components cannot be fully utilized because the actual junction temperature inside the semiconductor components would have to be known, and most competitors are unable to do that. So with Dynacord's junction temperature modeling, the temperature is modeled in real time based on the operating parameters such as operating voltage, housing temperature, output current, and output voltage. This is done using an advanced continuously monitoring algorithm, which is applied to all the important semiconductors in the amplifier. Relevant operating parameters such as current and voltage are continuously measured. The resulting power loss of the components is fed to a comprehensive temperature model of the cooling system. Then the actual junction temperature of the power semiconductors can be calculated in real time. So this approach allows an optimized usage of the semiconductor components, which ultimately leads to significantly more output power and uncompromising reliability. So I think that's an important one to touch on here. Moving on to our cycle-by-cycle current limiter, which I referenced a little earlier, really has to do with the impedance of loudspeaker systems. So in the event of an overload caused by excessive low impedance in the loudspeaker system, so this typically happens really around low frequencies, the respective power amplifier channel is often switched off for protection. However, this limits the operational range to impedances where an overcurrent can be excluded. So most amplifiers, right around 2 ohms, even before, that's where this happens. The latest generation of Dynacord amplifiers, like IPX, are equipped with a cycle-by-cycle current limiter. The current is already being monitored within a Class D switching cycle and limited if needed. So in addition, an optimized audio limiter ensures that this limitation is virtually impossible to perceive. So Dynacord power amplifiers equipped with this technology can therefore also reliably drive very low impedance loudspeaker systems below 2 ohms. So that's possible here and almost impossible for somebody to perceive here in the audience. And then, of course, we offer a smart PFC, so a digitally controlled power factor correction, and this maximizes output power and reduces idle power. It's complete digital monitoring and control. It offers wide range input for maximum flexibility, and of course the highest reliability thanks to Dynacord's protection algorithms. So one other topic here we wanted to touch on is for those of us who might be facing some tougher regulations out there in the market and care more and more about safety out there. So it's becoming more common that performance audio systems are being used as a supplement to fire and evac systems that are in place. In fact, performance audio systems are often better for intelligibility or clarity, and they're often already in place, right? So a lot of times these performance audio systems that you might install with IPX will often be installed parallel to a fire evac system. So applications like arenas, stadiums, sports facilities, malls, large distributed audio systems in general, maybe meeting or convention centers, larger retail stores, houses of worship, fitness chains. There's several applications where you might run into something like this NEC code. And this article specifically calls for, and this is really adopted by almost every state. Again, it is determined by the local authority, but they tend to follow this rule. In the event of a failure of the normal supply of power to the building structure, emergency power must be available within 10 seconds. So this article specifically calls for, or this regulation calls for, it has to be 10 seconds from the mains power failure till backup power is available. So it's 10 seconds is the range that we have to be in, right? Before we can, that everything has to still be engaged. So that could include the secondary supplementary system like your performance audio system with IPX. So we realize that, and something that is kind of a drawback with these network DSP amplifiers that are in the same price point or range or performance as IPX is they require significant boot time. So sometimes it's even minutes before these amplifiers can reboot. So the challenge here is 10 seconds, right? So the NEC regulation calls for 10 seconds. So the main power interruption. So we want to make sure within that 10 seconds that the amplifier doesn't fully reboot and have to reboot and take several minutes. So we offer a feature we like to call ghost power. So in case there is a mains outage, the IPX series amplifiers actually stay alive for a minimum of 15 seconds, so past the regulation. So network connection stays operational, DSP and processors remain fully booted and online. So once the mains is back, so once backup power is restored, audio is available within 3 seconds. So if I'm in an application where we need to rebroadcast a message or we want to restore audio, this is a very important feature. And then maybe for other live applications, we can see that this is very valuable. Power outages can't always be avoided. Even in live performances, seconds of audio can feel like hours. So this feature is a great way to minimize the damage and get the show back on in no time. But it's also a great way to rebroadcast a message. So now that we've talked about a lot of the key features here with IPX, let's talk about a couple application examples. So the one that we have here is a convention center. So it's a combination of foreground and background audio, and we've got a mix of loudspeakers here. So we've naturally chosen some Electro Voice loudspeakers, knowing that we have all the presets and we're fully aware of these loudspeakers since we've tested them in our anechoic chamber. So we've got some EVF 2151D subs, some EVF mains, some delays, a fill, and of course some distributed audio EVIT S loudspeakers that we've selected here. So for this example, we're talking about one amplifier, that 8-channel IPX 10A. So we've got some flexibility here. We've got subs, delays, we've got our mains, we've got fills, and then of course we've got some distributed audio here. Now another one could be a sports venue or stadium, and this is a snapshot of just a portion of the system. We're talking about a really large application here, right? So we've got some EVH clusters. We've got some under balcony distributed loudspeakers. So that could be EVIDs, ZX1i, EVC, or something else in the market there. Some more EVHs for the field. And this is all driven by a handful of IPX amplifiers. In comparison, we're driving a whole bunch of loudspeakers with limited electronics, but this is just a quarter of what the system could look like for a large stadium. So that's just a couple examples that we wanted to show you guys. And then one other thing that we wanted to touch on was software components. So for IPX specifically, we've developed a seamless plugin for QSYS. So that's a proprietary platform we're seeing in the market quite a bit. And we have developed a seamless plugin with a lot of control and supervision offered here as well. So if you do want to use an IPX amplifier, which I'm sure you do for certain applications. I mean, we're talking about some of the best amplifiers in the market, but you have to work with a QSYS backbone or a QSYS platform. You can do that. We've had several successful installations out there in the field, some high-profile ones, some sports venues where we've done this seamlessly, and the end user and consultant, everyone involved was very happy. So something to keep in mind, don't be afraid of that proprietary platform. We do have a plugin specifically for IPX. And then, of course, we do offer SonicU as our sound system software. Now, this is available for CNL and IPX and TGX, so we can get all of our amplifiers into one project. And next week, Mike Reynolds and I, one of our senior application engineers, will actually go through SonicU sound system software as well as some system examples. So I encourage you to join that meeting if you're interested in a lot of these Dynacord electronics. Of course, you want to know the interface. It's a very easy, simple software to use. It makes sense. Everything's left to right. And then there's 3 relevant menus and then sub-menus underneath that. So I really encourage you guys to join that session. So the software does offer some integrated system visibility, direct access on the fly, and error prevention with automated configuration checks. So Mike and I will be doing that next week. And then before we wrap it up, we do want to let you guys know that we are available here for expert involvement. We do have a team of application engineers, and obviously you have Sean and I here available as well. But if you do find yourself in an application you're not sure what to use and you want to get a recommendation from an expert, we're more than happy to help you out here. You might be familiar with something else in the market, or you want to learn a little bit more and you want to see what we really recommend. It's really easy for you to do that. Obviously, you can contact anybody really who works here with Bosch, but we do offer a system design questionnaire, which is simple and easy to fill out. It's really just basic contact information, really what you're looking for, any drawings, anything that you have there, any of the job specs. And then our application designers can assist with an ease model or helping you create a bill of materials or walk you through a couple different options for an application. So the email's not too difficult. It's buv.design@us.bosch.com. So we encourage you guys to utilize that. So just a recap of what we've gone over today. We touched on C&L series amplifiers and went over a couple of different system examples with C&L. We've reviewed IPX series amplifiers, got a little deeper there, and then of course provided a couple system examples to talk about there. And then lastly, we talked about some of the software elements. So that includes the SonicU sound system software, which we're doing a separate session on next week. And then of course the QSys plugin that you're able to use with IPX. So that's all I had for today. So I'll turn it back over to Sean for a little Q&A.
Thanks, Rob. Great job, by the way. So now is the time for you guys to ask any questions of Rob or myself. Just use the chat function, the chat window. So let them fly. I did get a few through IM. I'll give you guys a few minutes to type in some questions. But Rob, how long has Dynacord been around as a company?
Ooh, that's a good question. So Dynacord has been around for over 70 years. Originally based in Germany. So, and actually we still have a facility in Straubing, Germany, where all of our R&D team is still located out there. And actually, for those of us who aren't familiar with the brand too much in the US, we brought the brand back about 2 years ago, I believe. And for about 10 years, we really didn't have the Dynacord brand here. We just had the Electro Voice brand. So the older amplifiers, the EV amplifiers, were actually just co-branded. Underneath, they were still Dynacord amplifiers. We just branded them EV because that's the direction we took. Certainly, Electro Voice loudspeakers are really popular as an American brand here in North America. So, but we've decided to make a split there. So all of the new electronics coming from Bosch going forward is going to be Dynacord branded. So, you know, all of the new amplifiers and software associated with that will be Dynacord branded. Anything that's a loudspeaker or a microphone will be Electro Voice branded. So any transducer will be Electro Voice branded. So great question. There are still some EV amplifiers that we still actively sell here in the market, like the CPS amplifiers. So those haven't gone away yet. And of course, we do have some of the newer amplifiers as we've heavily invested in some newer technology there. But great question.
Awesome. Let's see, this is a two-parter. How much does the design service cost, and where can you get the design questionnaire?
Great. Well, I don't know, Sean. Maybe we should start charging for the service, me and you. I don't know. But no, the service is absolutely 100% free. Certainly, we spend a lot of time with these products, and we do have some resident experts who have decades of experience. So, but that service is absolutely free. We're here to help you guys. So it's absolutely free. So, and that includes everything from Dynacord EV, but that also includes RTS or Bosch public address or conferencing. So the entire gamut there you can get help on. But we do have a system design questionnaire right up on the website. So if you do click under contact, under tech support, there is a fillable PDF where you can just type it out online. You don't have to print it out necessarily, and you can save it and just submit it. The email contact information, buv.design@us.bosch.com, is right on there. So, but of course, if you're having trouble finding it or anything, feel free to reach out to Sean or myself.
Yeah, very good answer. So here's one that came in from one of the participants. How about lower level 70-volt amplifiers?
So obviously we do have the Dynacord branded amplifiers that are available now. Certainly you could use C&L series, but maybe you're looking for something that's a little lower power. We still do have the Electro Voice PA series amplifiers. So we got like the PA2400T, the PA1250T. Those amplifiers are still available. And of course, on the Bosch side, we do offer some lower commercial mixer amplifiers called Plena Easy. So those are also available under the Bosch brand. So Bosch brand is more focused on public address or some commercial light background music. So there is some lower power amplifiers available on that side of the fence. But certainly you could use something like an Electro Voice PA series amp. C-Series amplifier that's Dynacord branded, CPS, which is still Electro Voice branded. That's a multi-channel amp you could use. And then, of course, you could certainly use IPX. But we understand if you only got a couple loudspeakers, that might be a little overkill. So, but we got plenty of options there, and we can help you pick something if you need help.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bosch is part of the overall family of brands and products, so all available together. Another question came in, can I use your amp with other speakers?
You absolutely can. So certainly we encourage you to use Electro Voice loudspeakers. We've got a whole bunch of loudspeakers, and we have almost every single loudspeaker within SonicU in terms of an actual preset already. So save yourself maybe a little time and energy there. But if it's a unique widget that maybe Electro Voice doesn't make, or maybe you're familiar with a different product, you can absolutely use Dynacord loudspeakers Dynacord amplifiers with other manufacturers' loudspeakers. So, and down the road, we're trying to create some more loudspeaker presets. So for the time being, if you do have something generic that you want to use that's already available within SonicU, some generic settings, but if you do need help building a specific preset for a specific loudspeaker, just let us know. We're happy to help you make a specific preset.
Yeah, two real benefits if you do use the Electro Voice brand, just that the settings are, again, in all of the Dynacord amplifiers. So all of those filters are already there. And in most cases, we are actually building the compression drivers and the woofers. So we know those parameters and the specifications. So the protection, all of that stuff is included within the DSP now, which is great. Let's see, this one came in. Why aren't the installation amps multi-voltage?
Multi-voltage from the wall?
Well, we may need some further clarification.
Yeah, so some of the amplifiers are universal, and some of them are not. The lower end ones typically are designated for a region. Certainly, we do regionalize the amplifiers based on wherever they're being installed. And certainly you do have flexibility for distributed audio lines like 70 volt or 100 volt. If that's what you meant, you can do 70 volt or 100 volt on both CNL as well as IPX. Actually, IPX you can do even more than 100 volt if you want to.
They may be talking about the power supply, 220 versus the standard US.
Okay, yeah, so for mostly just as a generalization, most of our upper end amplifiers, so IPX is universal. The CNL series, typically they are specified within the region at a lower price point. So, but it's a good question.
Let's see, and this one came in, is Omnio a proprietary network?
It is not. So I'm sure it's a little confusing. It's something we've called it here at Bosch. Omnio, and you'll see that all of our products and portfolios that are speaking IP tend to speak the same Omnio language. However, right now today it is an open standard, so we're part of OCA or Open Control here. So really today that's Dante and that's AES-70 control. That's really what it is. So Dante Audio, AES-70 control. That's really what we're talking about here.
Very good. Well, I think that was all of the questions that came through. Yeah, Rob, great job. So again, if you need to contact us, please reach out, presales.support@us.bosch.com. Follow us on social media with Facebook and Twitter, all of those avenues there. We do post a lot of updates, a lot of information through social media, so please reach out and follow some of those particular accounts. Again, thank you very much. Really appreciate you attending, and please join us for some of the upcoming webinars, and have a fantastic day.